Today is Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. This is the Dartmouth Board of Health. It is 4:30 p.m. And I am going to move to open the meeting with a roll call. So Emily Michelle Olmsted, Chair, is present.
Susan Murray, present.
And as a reminder to all, this meeting is being recorded. Okay, so looking at our agenda, the first item we have is to approve and accept the warrants for the bills payable period ending November 19th, 2025 through December 12th, 2025. Bear with me, I'm scrolling up here. I did not have any questions or issues with any of the items here. I guess it's for pattern's sake. Chris, I'll jump to you. Do you have any notes you want to share with us on this?
Nope, these are just customary bills that we have to for efficiency reasons that were presented to the board. We are allowed to have certain statutory provisions that allow us to sign up to a certain amount, and anything over that amount, which is $400, would either be signed by the board signatory or approved by the board. So this is just a running agenda item for those items that we haven't sought prior approval on at the beginning of each reorganization of the board, or asking the board to come in. So this is just efficiency, and it's all routine expenses.
Great, thank you. Susan Murray, do you have any questions, comments, issues you want to talk about for this one?
Nope.
Excellent. And then Chris, I believe if since we seem so moved, the wording is to move to approve and accept the warrants. Is that correct?
Yes, for the bills payable November 19th through December.
Got it.
12th.
All right. So then I move to approve and accept the warrants for the bills payable period ending November 19th, 2025 through December 12th, 2025, finding that there are no outstanding issues. Can I get a second?
I second.
All right, now we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The motion passes. Excellent. Okay, the next item we have is to approve and accept the meeting minutes of November 19th, 2025. I did not notice anything incorrect about the minutes. Very detailed. I know we had a lot going on in that meeting. Susan Murray, do you have any issues or questions about the minutes?
No issues or questions. I'm all set on the minutes.
Excellent. Okay, then I move to approve and accept the meeting minutes of November 19th, 2025, finding that there are no corrections. Can I get a second?
I second.
All right, now we'll vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The motion passes. All right. We're moving now into section I, which is our appointments. The 432 appointment, we're running pretty on time today, 433. We're going to start with Civil and Environmental Consultants, Inc., Plat 9, Lot 40 at 656 Horse Neck Road in Dartmouth, which is a waiver from 310 CMR 15. I'm going to ask that if either the applicant or someone representing the applicant is here to speak, please identify yourself for the record, unmute, and go ahead and tell us about this, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Kelly with Civil Environmental Consultants. Here with me is Disa Van Lahoven, representing Round the Bend Farm. This project, in summary, is an existing dwelling at the property, and it needs a septic upgrade, and it needs a new drinking water well. In designing the septic system, we first looked at a conventional system, right, with basically zero waivers, and in doing so required an extremely elevated mounded leach field with substantial grading, and a few additional waivers would be required. To reduce the grading, to reduce the mounding of the leach field, we have proposed a Presby Advanced Environmental System. It's an approved secondary treatment device in the state of Massachusetts, commonly used for repairs and upgraded systems. That has drastically reduced the height of the mound. It has reduced the amount of grading in the rear of this property. So that is what we are here to discuss this afternoon. We have also proposed the new well up in the front of the property near Horse Neck Road. It's greater than 100 feet from any existing leach fields and the surrounding properties. The existing dwelling does utilize composting toilet facilities, so the actual gallons per day coming out of this house is going to be substantially less than what it's designed for. And with the Presby advanced treatment leach field, the treatment of the effluent will be far superior than a conventional system would be. And because of the depth to groundwater, 28 inches per the testing that was done, the septic tank and the pump chamber, the inlets and outlets of those tanks would be approximately a foot from groundwater. So therefore, watertight boots are proposed on those two structures, on the inlets and the outlets. And that is the waiver that we are here to discuss, or discuss anything else that might be of concern from the board.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
I do, so this is more curiosity. So it's composting toilets, so essentially gray water is just gonna be what's going to the system.
Correct.
Neat.
Yep. The
Thank you.
advantage of utilizing the Presby is it allows the reduction in the size of the leach field, the separation of groundwater depth as well. But it also, even if those were kept where standard designs were required to be at, the treatment of the effluent is far superior than a standard system.
Do you have the DEP transmittal number? I have I apologize. I have a small screen. I'm trying to find it just to make sure, but that is one of the things I just want to, I do want on pretty much anyone's plans who's using any sort of alternative.
Yes,
anything.
it is on the
Please.
plan. I can share my screen if you want me to show where it is on the plan, but the transmittal number is 21-CLM-000073-APP.
Great, okay. And it's included on there. That's excellent. In my experience, it's important to put that on there to make sure everybody's on the same page about what approval you're following. So thank you.
Yep, just for your reference, on the plan right-hand side, it says Board of Health stamps in rather large
one.
lettering.
Yep,
On sheet one, it's the first set of text directly above that. So
gotcha. Okay, thank you. I've seen engineers put it in a couple different spots, so that helps me. And then by the time we get into the meeting, I'm a little jumbled. So excellent. Chris, I have one question, and then I would like your feedback if that's all right. The watertight booths are already proposed on this plan. Would we need any condition, depending on how we as a board feel tonight? Would it be beneficial for us to condition that as well? Because that would be the one thing I would personally look for, given this waiver that's asked for.
I'm sorry, what was the condition? Because it kind of broke up a little bit on our end down here.
The engineer it is already included in the plan that watertight booths are proposed. Do we need to also condition that as a board if we are concerned about it?
If it's proposed on the plan, we do not need to condition it.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Chris, do you have any other things you want to note about this one?
It's a very difficult site, and I believe, in my professional opinion, the engineer has done the best he can to navigate the limitations of the site and install a system, with proposal. There was some earlier editions of this plan, and they were kind of horrific with retaining walls. So, this is I really believe a good design, given the limitations on this lot, with on-site well, off-site wells, and lot area, and a really slow perk rate.
Excellent, thank you. Susan Murray, questions, comments, concerns, how do you feel?
I don't have any at this time.
Great. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? Remember to unmute yourself and please identify yourself for the record.
I'm Disa Van Laarhoven. I'm the executive director and the co-founder of Round the Bend Farm. And so, yeah, I'm just here to speak on, and just in terms of your question around the composting toilet, we really believe in sustainability and social justice. Those are our two sort of threads that weave us together. And one of the first things that we did was remove, there's only one flush toilet in there, and we replaced it with a Phoenix composting toilet. And, thinking about our groundwater is extremely important to us. We think about all of our decision making for that. And this is a tiny, tiny postage stamp of a property. It's obviously very close to our farm, so that's why. And housing is a real issue for us in terms of, and I know a lot of nonprofits and farms and people that work on the margins. It's hard to afford, so we've been very fortunate to try to provide a substantial amount of housing for our teammates, and one of our teammates is currently living there now. So,
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, then I'm gonna, I don't see anyone else who seems to be unmuting and trying to speak. So I'm going to move us forward. Finding that this is an upgrade that that the engineer attempted to do this without any waivers, but found extreme mounding, that an advanced alternative soil absorption system is being used, and that it will be mostly for gray water because of the use of composting toilets on the site. Finding that watertight booths have been proposed, and that it is the professional opinion of the health director that the engineer has done the best possible solution. I move to approve the plan for 159 Woodcock Road in Dartmouth. Can I get a second?
665 Horseneck Road.
Oh,
Or-
excuse me.
Yes.
Thank you.
665.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry,
656.
656.
Thank you. Chris, do I need to reread all the conditions or the findings, or can I just change the address?
That's
You
correct.
know.
You can just change the address. That's fine.
Thank you. Sorry, everyone. I looked at the wrong spot on the agenda.
And then just roll call vote for the final approval.
Yep. With those findings, I move to approve the plan for 656 Horseneck Road in Dartmouth. Can I get a second?
I second.
Now we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you
All
all
right.
for your time.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the 4:34 p.m. This one is the Zenith Consulting Engineers Plat 28, Lot 18 at 159 Woodcock Road in Dartmouth, which includes a waiver. So I will first go to see if there is either the applicant or someone representing the applicant to speak on this first. Please unmute yourself and say your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm Niall Zaga from Zenith Consulting Engineers, representing the homeowner at this property.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So we again have again for the record, Niall Zaga from Zenith. We're here regarding the property at 159 Woodcock Road for a septic repair. This property has an existing 4-bedroom single-family residential home. And we are looking to upgrade the system that is located in the rear of the property. The property is serviced by private on-site well, as well as there's a significant amount of on-site wells surrounding the area. We designed this based off of using a infiltrator quick 4 chamber system, which does allow for somewhat of a reduction in the footprint of the size of the leaching field. And we were able to raise the plumbing in the existing home by just about a half a foot. That's about all we could get out of it. And we were able, because there is a little bit of exposed concrete on the home at the existing foundation, we were able to grade back to the home without causing any ponding back at the house, because obviously that would be a concern. And so we did as much as we could, but unfortunately we couldn't pick it up enough to avoid a pump. So the only other option we have in a situation like this is to reduce it ask for a local upgrade from, in this case, it was a less than 2 perk rate. There's a good soils out here. So we're asking for a reduction from 5 feet to 4 feet. And in doing so, that allows us to provide the system as a gravity-fed system in lieu of using a pump system. It also obviously keeps the grading down on the lot, reduces any flow off site. It is being raised up a little bit, but very little. It's almost kind of generally matching natural grade. It's raising up about a half a foot to almost a foot at the far end of the leaching field, the proposed leaching field, where you can see a little bit of tree clearing there. We are proposing an HDPE liner right around the edge of the overdig, just to provide for less grading and impact to the to the tree line and to the neighbor. So we feel as though that this was the best suited system for this scenario. Luckily, we were able to meet all other requirements. We meet all the setback to any property lines, all the wells, things of that nature. We were able to meet all other requirements. Just unfortunately, we could not meet that separation, and that is why we're here before you. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or concerns that you have.
Thank you. Two just off the bat, hopefully not too difficult. Similar to the other engineer, do you have the transmittal number for the infiltrator chambers? Again, I apologize. I'm working on a small screen and
No, please don't apologize. So again, we're to the right side where all the notes are. It'll be note number 14. Yeah, it'll talk about the remedial as well as the standard conditions, and it has the transmittal number with the issue date there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay. And then I believe I know the answer to this, but you meet the setback for all the wells. I mean, that would be its own variance if you didn't, but that is correct. Yes.
That is correct. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah, we show, just so you can kind of see
the circles.
The circles are 100 foot diameter.
100 foot setback. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. It just makes it a little clearer to see where the footprint is as to what you're working with.
For sure. You mentioned all the wells in the area, so just wanted to be absolutely certain.
Of course.
Okay. Chris, I'm going to bounce to you, and then Susan Murray. Do you have comments, things you would like to point out to us as board members?
I do not have any concerns, and it's an aspect of the code that unfortunately we have to deal with. I do believe it's a little bit of an error in the code because new construction has a lower standard, which is unusual. If this was new construction, this would not be before the board because new construction allows for the invert to be placed within an inch as a by right approval.
That's for the other one, right? This is for a reduction in vertical separation of groundwater, right? The other one was
that is correct.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
No, no worries. Yeah. Just making sure I'm on the same page too. Okay.
Yeah. But as far as the groundwater, this is a really tight lot, again, with on-site wells, matching up with existing plumbing, trying to keep it, blending with the backyard so you don't have to deal with excessive grades. So I believe they've done all they can. So anything more would be dealing with some site grading and other issues.
Excellent. Thank you. Susan Murray, I'll jump to you next. Questions, concerns, thoughts on this one?
I do not have any questions or concerns on this.
Excellent. At this point, I want to see if there is anyone else in the audience. As a reminder, please unmute and say who you are for the record. I'm out to see. Again, this is Woodcock, 159 Woodcock? 159 Woodcock. Let me look through and see. I don't see anyone unmuting.
Hello there.
Hi there.
I believe this was under my wife's name, Jennifer Collins. I'm her husband. We had applied for a permit for animals in our backyard.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yes, we're not on to any animal permits. We're on
Oh, my
159
apologies.
Woodcock.
I
That's
hopped
quite all
on
right.
late, so I wasn't sure.
No problem. We're not on that one yet. We're on 159 Woodcock Road. Let me just make
Oh,
sure there's not.
Okay, my
No
apologies.
worries. Quite all right. Let me see. I don't see anyone else. Excellent. All right. Thank you all. All right. So I'm going to move forward with the motion then. So finding that this is a repair and that because the engineer has found concrete on an unexpected part of the site and has raised the system and the grade back to the home, to reduce as much concerns as possible. Finding that the engineer has put a liner around the edge of the overdig to reduce the impact to the neighbor. Finding that an alternative soil absorption system has been used, and finding that it is the opinion of the health director this is a tight lot with multiple on-site wells, that the engineer has done all that can be done. I move to approve the plan for 159 Woodcock Road in Dartmouth. Can I get a second?
A second.
All right, and now we'll vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. All right.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Okay, and oops, let me see. Sorry, bear with me. I am looking at the agenda, but I just want to make sure I have the right one in front of me. Okay. Yes. Okay. 436. Excellent. Okay. 436 appointment, or for which we're a little bit late. I apologize. This one is Jennifer Collins, flat 41, lot 43-1 at 17 Fisher Pines Way in Dartmouth, which is a domestic animal permit request for the following: 1 large hooved animal, 8 small hooved animals, 10 chickens, hens, game birds, and 10 waterfowl. Chris, this is a little bit different than a septic plan. Would you like me to go to the applicant first, or would you like to offer comments first?
I think going to the applicant first is fine.
Excellent. All right. So I think I know who it is, but if you are here for this one, can you please unmute, identify yourself for the record, and go forward with speaking?
Hi there, I'm Cameron Walker. Like you said, 17 Fisher Pines Way. Looking to run a small little homestead over here. I homeschool my son, and I'm just, we use the animals for educational purposes, and so we're hoping to get a permit for it.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, at this point, Chris, is it all right if I jump to you? Can you, as I pull this one up, can you give us a summary on this, please?
Sure, thank you. So, the major concern right now, as well as why we permit, is to manage nuisances. And what are we looking at when it comes to permitting domestic animals in, densely populated areas or subdivisions in town? And that's to minimize conflict, to allow the keeping, but also to minimize conflict with people. So, the primary things that we focus on are odors, vectors, and noise. So right now, the concern that we have following our inspection is that there is some material, some of it might be long-term material beyond the fence, that, whatever arrived there really isn't our focus. When we look at, waste materials, or a yard dumping area that can exist in many areas, we focus on the now, not the past. So if we're going to be permitting animals at this location, while there may not be evidence of rodents now, our concern is later, because the last thing we want to do is have, harborage and then increased animals. I know that there's a few animals there now, but there's additional animals requested, is that we end up with a rat infestation. So
Right.
What I would ask the board to do is, in considering this application, to set a reasonable time frame for that area to be addressed, and to withhold adding any additional animals onto the property until that area is addressed. The difficulty right now is, we got snow on Sunday and it's going away. Winter weather forecasts can change in 72 hours. It can look great, and next thing you know, you're right on the edge of the jet stream, and we got a foot of snow on the ground, and then it's here. So I would ask and keep my fingers crossed that we can maybe give them till April 1st to remove. If the weather continues the way it looks in the long range forecast, yes, we got holidays, so I think we got to be sensitive to that. But if everything continues to track the way it's been going, maybe by the middle of January, everything could be taken care of. But if by some chance the weather does turn very cold and snowy, hopefully April 1st will cover it. I am kind of thinking about that 2016 winter where we ended up with snow well into April. At least I'll keep my fingers crossed it does not happen. And that's all.
So I just want to make sure, Chris, I understand. That would be the condition we could consider would be that the applicant must remove all debris in the back of the property beyond the fence by April 1st, 2026. Is that timing or even wording in line with what you're suggesting?
That is accurate. Thank you.
Okay. You said you think that no more animals should be added to the property until that time. Is that what I also heard that you were recommending?
Yes, because it's with more animals comes more waste, comes more food being placed out for feeding, and if we have this rodent harborage, I think it's a good balance myself, and knowing that when we get into birds, ducks, chickens, sometimes they can be a little bit messy with their food, especially in the wintertime where things rain, grain gets on the ground, it kind of builds up a paste. So, if he's able to get everything kind of cleaned up quickly, if the weather cooperates, then certainly then it would allow for an onboarding sooner.
What animals are there now versus which ones? Because the permit covers everything that is requested, but there are some animals that are there now and some that are planned in the future. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Can you tell me what animals are there now, please?
2 alpacas,
Okay.
4 goats, and 1 sheep.
And then this application is also for the difference between what you just named is birds. Is that correct?
Yes.
So 10 chicken, 10 game birds, and 10 waterfowl. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So then this question is for Chris. So then we could that wording I suggested a moment ago, we could also include well, would we want to include how would we cover it such that if the applicant does clean up that debris sooner, that that they could get their in this case birds sooner? Is there would they how would we cover that situation?
So there's one thing I just kind of need to backtrack on because
Okay.
from the time of the inspection and application,
Yep.
it seems as though there's been a shifting in the number of animals.
Okay.
So this is a question for the applicant. Did you say 2 alpacas?
Yes, 2 alpacas, yes.
Because when we were there was 1, and in the application,
Well,
just
yes, my apologies. I'd already purchased. I bought 2 brothers. One of them was too young for me to receive yet, so I had to wait until he was of age. So I didn't have the second one yet.
Chris, does that change with the process that that we need to do? Just because then does that make the application we have in front of us incorrect?
Yes.
It does.
It says 1 large hoofed animal.
And the alpacas count as large.
Yeah.
But oh wait, I thought it says 8 small hoofed animals.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
I have a question about that. So
Go
the
ahead, jump
application
in.
says 1 large hoofed animal, 8 small hoofed animals, and number of kids per year 2. But you have 2 alpacas, 4 goats and 1 sheep. And it says that the males are wethers, are castrated.
I'm so sorry. If you were just speaking to me, I just lost service and I didn't hear anything you just said. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
I'm
I just want to make sure I understand the number of animals you have and the number of animals you anticipate having. So
Yep.
the application says 1 large hoofed animal. You have 2, the alpaca.
Yes.
And then it says 8 small hoofed animals, but you have 5, right? 4
Correct.
goats, 1 sheep.
Correct. They told me just put for future reference. And so I thought, you know what, maybe one day I'll want to breed them. I have 2 females, so I have 2 males, 2 females. So I thought maybe one day I'll want to breed the females. And so I just put, 8 just in case.
Okay. Are your 2 male goats, are they actually wethers? Are they castrated?
They're castrated. Both are castrated. Yep.
Okay. So you're not currently capable of having.
No, it'd have to be planned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have intentions of getting intact males?
No, I don't know. No,
Okay.
that's too much for me. No.
Okay, I was gonna say that, and male goats really stink. Like you can walk into a neighborhood and be like, someone here has an intact goat male.
Yeah, they stink and they don't know how to behave. Not that the castrated ones are much better, but they're a bit better. So
yeah. Okay. So I'll bump it to Chris because I know there needs to be a change in the application.
So the problem here is that to act on this application, if he is going to keep a second alpaca, is going to require another application before the board.
Because alpacas count as large, not small hoofed animals?
Correct.
Is there any way, we're all here now, is there any way you could just change it to 2?
It's been placed on the agenda, and to me, it's a substantive change that would justify it. I'm just trying to pull up the agenda to look at specifically how it's worded. Yeah. Yeah, so it's itemized on the agenda, and that would be a problem for us for the board to approve in excess of what's been itemized on the public agenda.
I'm sorry to call technicalities here. I'm looking too at the actual animal permit. And I obviously defer to Chris, but for large hoofed animals, the example underneath in parentheses is horses, ponies, donkeys, mules, cattle, and that's 1 large hoofed animal. For small hoofed animals, it says 8, and then it says example, goats, sheep, llama, alpaca. So if alpaca is considered a small hoofed animal, doesn't he fit the criteria? Am I misunderstanding this? I can share my screen.
No, she's right. You're right on that. I'm looking at the application, and the llamas and the alpacas got batched into small hooved, and I don't think that they should be considered small hooved. So that's an error within the application. I think the best thing to do would be to deny without prejudice, and we could resubmit this so that we have a proper posting at the next meeting, and we can correct the application, so we don't have any issues with the public notice of the meeting. And it would, and my recommendation would be no additional fee paid.
Yes. Okay. To correct this. Go ahead, Susan Marie.
It's our fault that it's wrong. So I push back a little bit that could there be a way to condition this that going forward, any renewals would put the alpaca under large hoofed animals? I feel like if I filled this out and I did it according to what the application says, it would be, I mean, it's our application.
Yeah, so unfortunately, sometimes when you try to be flexible, we end up tying ourselves up in a knot. So in the past, we were very itemizing in the permitting of the animals that are listed on the permit. So in other words, if someone came in for a permit for, I just want to have 2 sheep, and then we do the barn book inspections at the end of the year, and there's 2 goats out there, we had to go back to the board. So that's where we tried to build in this flexibility and just say, let's deal with it by the animal type. So, if we're looking at, small hooved animals, let's just give them that flexibility so we don't have to keep coming back before the board. Because from a nuisance perspective, with the exception of the billies, is there much of a difference between, a sheep and a goat? So that's where this started, and fortunately, we've got this issue today.
Right, but so if you count, because on our application it lists an alpaca as a small hoofed animal, he's got 7 small hoofed animals, so it would fit in with what is on the agenda.
See that again.
Right, so 2 alpacas, 4 goats, and a sheep. And he put in for 8 small hoofed animals.
So I would just ask to strike the 1 large hoof then, if at this time, but the board could approve it that way. Because there's no intent here to have a cow, a donkey, a mule, or a horse.
If I may, I would
Go ahead.
definitely be on board with that. There's no intention to have any large hoofs animals by that definition.
And then we're going to overhaul this application, obviously, for the next, permit request before the board. So I would just go back to just working with that April 1st timeframe, so that we could allow for some time to get that material cleaned up in the back.
Okay, so that helps. So, yeah, so jumping now that I'll just pause and say, Susan Murray, it sounds like we're good with this technicality, and our agents know correcting this going forward. Are you okay with that technicality wording part?
Yes.
Excellent. So yeah, so let's jump back to this. So the way I'm leaning right now is I understand the concern for rodent harborage, giving a deadline of April 1st. My question to you, Chris, is let's say the applicant is very moved, because if we condition it such that no waterfowl and no more chickens, hens, game birds can come onto the property, since they're not there now until the debris is cleaned up, how would we cover it wording wise such that if the applicant is very motivated to clean up the site, he, she, they could have their birds even sooner? Is there a way to cover that wording wise in a condition? Does that question make sense?
Yes, so upon satisfactory cleaning of the agent of the board prior to April 1st.
Okay.
A board's agent prior to April 1st.
Clean. Okay, let me write that down. Agent. Okay, thank you. Let me look at the other notes. So because I remember that rodent harborage from the debris was one concern. I think I saw some notes as well, though, from the inspection that I just want to make sure. So there's talk about manure as well. And I think there was a suggestion by our agents to have an area marked out on a plan for where the manure is going to be spread or distributed. So I suppose, if I'm understanding this correctly, I suppose this is probably a question to the applicant. And then afterwards to Chris about how we word it as a condition. To you, the applicant, Mr. Walker, I believe your name is.
Yes.
I apologize if that's incorrect. Okay, good. Could you supply us with a plan for where the manure is going to be distributed, so that way we have that on record and we are comfortable with that as a board? Because I think manure, even though I've been told the manure is not as offensive as, say, a larger hooved animal, it is still a concern. Again, for a lot of the things Chris went over with the high density, et cetera. Is that something you could supply?
Yes. So I
Okay.
have behind my fence a little less than an acre of land, and I'm in the process of having that land cleared. But I've just been evenly spreading it throughout that area to fertilize the ground for future growth and future, whatever I may need in the future. So I've been evenly spreading it amongst that acre, and I tried to draw for you guys in my I'm a horrible artist, but my little sketch, I tried to illustrate where I was going to spread it out. I know I think when they came, there was a pile of grass clippings right behind the fence, and I think that she may have thought that that was a pile of manure, but it's really just grass clippings from the from over the summer from my lawn guy. But so I evenly spread out all my pine shavings throughout that acre of wooded area, if that answers your question.
I guess I'll bounce to Chris at this point. I think I see within our packet now. It seems to be a satellite image. It calls out potential duck chicken coop, and there it's handwritten for 17 Fisher Pines Way. Is this enough detail? What are your thoughts on this part of the application?
So alpaca, so the hoofed animals will generate the greatest amount of manure. So alpaca and goats have a very benign manure. But too much of any one thing, benign turns into a problem. So I think we can work, we're going to have to, the board's going to have, we're going to essentially, if the board decides to approve on the April 1st and then allow the flexibility to onboard additional animals, we will still revisit this because it's a temporary permit again on April 1st or whatever the board's able to meet on or before. If everything is ready in March, then, we can discuss this and the board could take a full vote. So, we can, as part of our visits back to the site, we can, get a better understanding of what he wants to do. And, maybe there'll be some of that clearing going on that he's talking about and, assess that area as being suitable or needing potentially, in some cases we've addressed manure management by offsite management. And in some cases, do you have to have an area that's designated away from the sensitive receptors, be it the neighbors? So
then, go ahead, sorry.
There is some uncertainty with this, in the concern. And I think it's, with that, we're in that cold time of the year right now, and, we can assess and, work with the applicant, so that, if, a spot is chosen, it can be identified. And if there's concern with that spot, then, we can address it in April. So I guess what I'm saying is, since this is temporary, I think, we can revisit that aspect in April with the consideration of the full permit.
Right. Okay. So that we as a board could condition that the applicant communicates or comes up with a plan for the manure with the Board of Health or its agents before April 1st, 2026.
Yes, yeah, because I want to, because once we get that area cleared out, that might open up opportunity. It sounds like he's got, this. It's not so much that the animals are, it sounds like he wants to expand. So let's kind of get a better understanding of the master planning of this site, and see how the next couple months play out, while focusing our greatest attention on that debris that needs to get cleaned up.
Okay. Susan Marie, do you want to say anything, talk anything at all about the manure at the moment?
No, I agree with Chris. You know, it sort of depends how the site clears out. I did notice there was a letter from I think the Concom just about
Oh, yeah.
keeping the manure out of that 100-foot buffer zone for that water. But other than that, I think Chris, you know, is right. Waiting till, you know, that area is cleared and seeing what's the best plan for manure.
Excellent. Okay. And then I'm going to jump back to the notes again that I think Donna and Ariel seem to have signed. Okay. So we talked about the placement of manure, we talked about the debris. Oh, okay. So Chris, if I'm understanding, there's a note about roosters. So I know that the applicant has not asked for roosters, but it sounds like this was perhaps named as a consistency, that we say something that no keeping of roosters is a condition because they're not even called for in this application. Is that correct? This is to Chris, who is muted right now.
Where in the application, you know, game birds and chickens are all batched together. So just to make sure there's no confusion, you know, making that a condition. Because
So the condition is no keeping of roosters.
correct.
Thank you. Okay. Or if the applicant wants to get some later, that would be a new application.
Correct.
Excellent. And then the last note, Susan Murray, do you have anything to note about the roosters? I'm just working off the notes we were given in our packet.
No, but you want ducks and chickens. Is that the aim?
That's correct. I have no plans for a rooster ever.
Okay.
And then the last note that we seem to have from the walkthrough is about placing bait boxes on the exterior of the fence and monitoring those bait boxes. Again, I'm assuming that ties into rodent harborage. Chris, I'm guessing we would make that as a condition. Do you think that could it be as simple as applicant must place bait boxes on the exterior of the fence and replace as necessary, or do we need more detail than that?
That's fine. Without you know, explicit details is fine.
Okay. Susan Murray, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Nope.
Bear with me, I'm writing a bunch of notes. Okay. So I think I'm just going to go over the notes really quickly because there's a lot to this one. So it sounds like if Susan Murray and I are on the same page, and actually I'm sorry, I'll pause at this point and Susan Murray, I'm going to jump to you first to see, is there anything we didn't cover that you want to talk about right now?
Not currently. Nope.
Okay, thank you. And then I also do want to open this up. If there is someone here to speak on this item, please unmute yourself and say your name and address or affiliation for the record. Looking through, I don't see anyone unmuting. Okay. Excellent. All right, so here, very quickly, here are the notes that I have, and then Susan Murray, if we're on the same page about this. So if we are so moved to approve this, the condition has to be that the applicant must remove the debris. This is a temporary permit until April 1st, 2026. That the applicant must remove the debris from the side of the fence by April 1st, 2026, and that upon satisfactory cleaning by acceptable to the Board of Health agent, the applicant can have additional animals only at that time, with the condition that that the applicant has to work with the Board of Health agents regarding a plan for the manure by April 1st, 2026, that there shall be no keeping of roosters and they must place bait boxes. That's what I have for notes for everything that is going to be part of this approval. Does that align with what?
Striking the one large hoofed animal.
Oh, okay. We are officially striking that. Okay. Is that a condition, Chris? It moved to strike the large hooved animal?
Nope, that would you're just approving the application without the hooved animal.
Okay, so I would move to approve, and then I just name all the animals. It would be move to approve 8 small hooved animals.
Correct.
So I'm not even going to name the chickens, hens, game birds, or 10 waterfowl at this time.
Nope, you'd name all of the animals, so essentially would list everything except for the large hooved animal.
Got it. Okay. All right, I think I got it. Susan Marie, anything else? All right, here we go. So, finding that the concern of the Board of Health is to manage nuisance, especially in densely populated areas, to minimize conflicts. I move to approve the domestic animal permit for Plat 41 Lot 43-1 at 17 Fisher Pines Way for 8 small hooved animals, 10 chickens, hens, game birds, 10 waterfowl, with the following conditions. 1, that this is a temporary permit until April 1st, 2026. That the applicant must remove debris from the side of the fence by April 1st, 2026. And that upon satisfactory cleaning acceptable to the Board of Health agent, the applicant can then have additional animals that are not currently on the site, with the condition that the applicant must work with the Board of Health agents regarding a plan for the manure by the end of the permit, April 1st, 2026, that there shall be no keeping of roosters, and that the applicant must place bait boxes on the exterior of the fence and replace them as necessary. Can I get a second?
I second.
All right, and now we'll vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The motion passes. Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Okay, jumping back to the agenda. All right, 4:38, we are running late, but here we go. This is the continued hearing on the Dartmouth Board of Health well regulations, where we vote to approve, deny, table, revised well regulations. Chris, do you want to go ahead and speak on this?
Sure, thank you. So the well regulations that are before the board tonight for consideration are an edited version based on the discussions at the last meeting. What's been removed from the regulations before the board tonight are those sections which include, and I'll just summarize, the provisions on pressure tanks. That has been removed. There was language also on bulk storage of pesticides. That has been removed. And I would just like to add, should someone be listening that wasn't part of the earlier discussions, because it might seem that it's kind of counterintuitive to the board's mission. When we started looking at and talking to industry professionals within state agencies, bulk storage was hard to define. With concentrates now, we're not seeing 55-gallon drums of pesticides like for direct application. So it really wasn't necessary to include bulk storage of pesticides. So that has been removed. And lastly, after a lot of discussion on what analytes would be regulated in private drinking water supply wells, the requirements to test for the per and polyfluoroalkyl substances was removed. And I'll just add a little bit, to summarize those discussions. This does still seem to be a contaminant. I hate to say emerging, but I think from a regulatory perspective, it's still an emerging contaminant because it is still being introduced into the environment on the front end. And, a lot of the discussions were about the pervasiveness of these compounds in our day-to-day lives, and to, begin to regulate it, it seems more appropriate to begin regulating it at the source, and then looking at it more holistically. So that is a summary of the regulations that are before the board, that were discussed at prior meetings and hearings. Thank you.
Excellent. So, just to make sure that I'm clear on what we need to do tonight, and how we word it, we could, as a board, move to, is the word approve them? I mean, is the word make them official? Like what? And then I think at the end I see where we sign, and then that there's a date on there that they become effective. So what? I guess what are our options regarding that, Chris?
So the board is, at this point, has satisfied all of the requirements in Mass General laws to adopt if the board so chooses.
Adopt, okay.
So to adopt the regulations would require a motion and then a roll call vote with an individual calling of each member and their respective vote on that. And then a majority, and at this time the board has 2 members, we have a vacancy. Following an affirmative vote of the board, we would need the signatures. A summary of the regulations would appear in a newspaper of general circulation to the area. And we would have to send a copy of those regulations to the local regional office of Mass DEP. These are all statutory requirements. But again, it's each member's respective vote as to how they decide to vote on this proposal tonight. But again, the individual call out by roll call.
Okay, so instead of voting all as one, we would have to do it as by our names and titles.
Please.
Okay, and we don't need to say when, we don't need to decide when they shall be effective.
If the board wished to delay the regulations' effectiveness,
okay,
then yes. If not, then they would become effective upon publication. And with the holidays upon us and advertising deadlines and the newspaper of general circulation being Dartmouth Weekly, it may, I don't know if we'll meet their publication deadline for the next, so it could actually, for the 20, I think it would be the 19th is when they typically circulate the hard copy. So then, would we be looking for the 26th or the 1st? So any one of those 3 Fridays could be the possible effective date as being the soonest. But if the board wished to lead them in a little bit more time, that would need to be made in the motion, seconded, and then majority vote. So that's at the pleasure of the board.
but if I'm understanding correctly, and I will confer with my fellow board member in just a moment, we could either delay it or otherwise, could we say it should be adopted as as soon as possible, and without giving you a specific date? Is that acceptable?
So unless the board wished to impose a delay, then you would not need to state a time frame. Because
Right, okay.
we would then have to follow the statutory provisions.
Got it. Thank you very much. Okay. Great. I mean, so I'm on board with adopting them. We've put a lot of work into these, not to mention past boards have put a lot of work into these. I thank Chris and his staff for, making the adjustments. So that is where I currently stand. Susan Murray, I turn the floor to you.
Make a motion.
Yeah. All right. So, but I will. So, this is a hearing though, Chris? So, I am required to open it up to other comment. Is that correct?
If you want to close the hearing and then open it up, open up the hearing, close the hearing, and then after that, then solicit for a motion.
And I'm sorry, I have to move to open the hearing for the Dartmouth well regulations, and then I have a motion to close it.
If you're going to solicit input, yes, yes.
Got it. Okay. But this isn't, just trying to be cognizant because there are other people on this meeting. But we have fulfilled our obligation for public comment at this time. So, plus giving the writing. So, okay, so it would be opening another public hearing if we decided to do that.
Public discussion, you know,
Okay.
that's at the will of the chair. There's never any harm in, you know, allowing for public input should any be present.
Okay. Susan Marie, are you okay with my doing that then and opening for any public discussion? I mean, I do believe we've given ample time, but I see other people who are on this meeting and I want to be aware of that.
Sure.
So then, and I'm sorry, Chris, it needs to be a formal motion for me to open the discussion, or as chair, I can just say that I'm opening the discussion.
As chair, there's.
Thank you. Okay. Then as chair, I am opening the discussion on the proposed Dartmouth Board of Health well regulations. If you are here to speak on them, I'm going to ask you to unmute. We'll go one at a time as we see fit. Say your name for the record, please. All right, I see no one unmuting.
Can I just offer one thing? Sometimes
Please.
people struggle with unmuting. So
Sure.
if anyone is struggling with unmuting, there is a chat dialog box. If you could put something in the chat now, then we would be able to see that and work with you. So if we could just give a few, you know, maybe 10, 15 seconds for a chat to appear, you can just type in, you know, help, and then we'll know that you need assistance.
Good idea. Thank you. Okay, so I see, I'll just read this aloud. We've got a liaison from FinCom Financial, I'm guessing, and they have no comment, so thank you. Okay. All right, well then, I you know, that seems to be enough time, and thank you. It proves that the chat works. So then, given that as the chair, I'm going to close the public discussion on this. And then I'm going to move forward with making a motion. So it sounds like, Susan Marie, that you were on the same page. So finding that all of the edits are acceptable post the very detailed public hearing that we previously held, I move to adopt the well regulations final draft. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. And now we're going to vote with a roll call. So Emily Michelle Olmsted, chair, votes aye.
Susan Murray votes aye.
And the motion passes. So, Chris, so then our next move is that both Susan Murray and I have to come into the office to sign it. That is correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Excellent. Will you let us know by email when they are ready for us to sign, or can we come in as soon as tomorrow?
I would say anytime after 9 o'clock tomorrow will be good. Just give us.
Excellent.
Print it off.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, going back to our agenda, we're going now into section 2, which is new business. Item A is 158 Little River Road, Plat 15, Lot 44, new construction, a rescinding of the previous grant of restrictive covenants. Chris, do you want to speak on this one first, or should I go to the applicant first? I'm not even sure.
So the applicant isn't here today.
Okay.
And the reason why this is before the board is that at a point in time, this property utilized a section of the code for a grant of restrictive covenant. This property is up for a title transfer. In other words, a property sale. As part of the property sale, they inspected the septic system. The septic system met failure criteria. So they have designed a septic system to serve the dwelling at this property. That septic system design is in full compliance. So it's what I call a by right approval. It's not a discretionary approval. They fully comply, so approval cannot be withheld. They have complied with all of the terms for new construction to add a bedroom. So with that, we have this relic document for a lesser number of bedrooms. So that needs to get removed from the chain of title for clarity. And that's why this is on the board's agenda tonight. We would need the board to vote and then to come in and sign the document that would be the rescission of the grant of restrictive covenant that the applicant would then record at the registry of deeds and clear the title of that so that it wouldn't create a conflict with the system that they're proposing. So the only thing I'd like to add is what I mentioned on the prior agenda topic about coming in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Is that document ready? Yep. So that document's ready. So yeah, would be good for 9 a.m. tomorrow for both documents.
Fantastic. That answers all of my questions, Chris. That was very concise. Thank you. Susan, Marie, thoughts, questions, concerns?
I don't have any thoughts or comments.
Okay. Let's see if anyone else is here for it. We seem to have more people today than I expected. If you're here for this item, unmute and identify yourself, please. Or put it in the chat. Okay. I see no comments. So then finding that that the system is fully compliant for new construction, and that the grant for restrictive covenants is pertaining to outdated information and that it needs to be removed for clarity, I move to approve rescinding the previous grant of restrictive covenants for 158 Little River Road. Can I get a second?
I second.
All right, now we'll vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The motion passes. All right, we're going on to section 2 of new business, or excuse me, section item B of new business, which is Health and Sanitary Inspector recommendation to appoint Mallory Kiernan. Chris, can you speak on this one, please?
So ordinarily, this is part of our routine reorganization of the board. We handle some matters at the beginning of each new board cycle. And at this point, we had a vacant position, and with the resignation of Allie, with her moving out of state. So now we have a new employee, Ms. Kiernan, and to carry out the duties of the board, the agent status would need to be voted on.
Right. So just as we usually at the beginning of each year when we have our new board, that we name all of ourselves as agents and name all of you as our official agents, we need to, she's been hired and we need to name her officially as an agent of the Board of Health.
Correct.
Or specifically, we move to appoint her as the Health and Sanitary Inspector. Or we name to move her as a Board of Health agent. Sorry, let's get this wording right.
Yeah, so Health and Sanitary Inspector is it derives from the Dartmouth Town Employees Association contract.
Okay.
And it really doesn't join in with the statutory provisions of the board appointing an agent. So all the board needs to do is appoint an agent to carry out. So, the Health and Sanitary, that kind of falls into the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, so that's not needed. Only the. Thank you.
It's appoint her as an agent of the Board of Health.
Correct.
Okay. Susan Murray, thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
No questions.
Okay. All right. So then, finding that we have a new staff member, I move to appoint, finding that we have a new health and sanitary inspector, excuse me. I move to appoint Mallory Kiernan as an agent of the Board of Health. Can I get a second?
My second?
All right, now we'll vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The motion passes. All right. Section 2, new business item C, which is discuss date for the board's next meeting to be held in January 2026. So Chris, do you, I think when I looked, 4 weeks from today would be January 14th or 15th, 14th? That week is 4 weeks. Is that what we're aiming for? Do you have a couple of dates that sometimes you'll suggest a couple of possibilities and we kind of choose from that? Do you have anything to give us a ballpark for, or?
So I'll mention some matters with the consideration for the selection of the next meeting, not for deliberation purposes, but just for the board to consider, because I do think we're going to probably have maybe a need to meet maybe twice in January.
Okay.
So we know that we have a vacant seat right now. The Board of Health at their last meeting did send notice to the Select Board advising the Select Board of the vacancy so that the Board of Health could participate in the appointment of the new person. I know that that is been put out to the public by the Select Board, and the thought is that hopefully by sometime in early January, middle of January, maybe some people will come forth. So I think the 14th is good. Just want to offer it out that we may have a need for a pop-up meeting, maybe to discuss that one topic. So that, whether it's going to be a joint meeting with the Select Board, or if the Select Board says, if there's multiple people, I guess we just got to see how that plays out.
Okay.
And be adaptive, so that, if the board wants to see that seat filled and participate. And then the other thing is that I've mentioned this a few times over the last, over this term of this board, about we do have another set of regulations that have been in the works, and this board has instructed to continue pursuing those regulations under the prior that generate from prior directives of other board terms. So those are the tobacco regs. So those regulations are ready to go to the board at a meeting of the board's choosing. I would recommend, so that it allows for easier participation of the public, to have that meeting in person. So that those are ready to go to the 14th meeting if the board wanted to, but I would just recommend that meeting be in person.
Chris, I know it's hard to foresee things at all points, but I mean, at least for the public hearing that we had on the well regulations, we wanted to give people ample time. So I think the question I'm ultimately trying to ask is, do you foresee a lot of issues or other matters for January, or is January typically a light month for other matters and permits that are coming before the board?
So the big thing that's time sensitive are septic system approvals, and because there's a statutory time frame that we need to act, or defaults approves, and permit applications. So as long as we fall within the 28 days, we're pretty good. The other thing right now is with the holidays, we wouldn't have any default approvals, and with the holidays and property closings and whatnot, I don't see much going on in the next 2 weeks. So I think 28 days, while it seemed kind of far away, with the next 2 weeks ahead after this week, it'll be on us before we know it. So I think we're fine with that date.
Yeah.
And that we would be discussing, they wouldn't be an open meeting discussion on the tobacco regulations, correct? We discuss it internally first, and then you have to advertise it. Is that correct, or no?
So they're ready to go to hearing.
Gotcha.
And earlier in this board cycle, I had circulated them to the members.
Yes.
Donna had. So they're on, aside from the correction of some typos, they are identical.
Okay.
And similar, just so that I understand too. If we wanted to, we don't have to give notification to or a certain time frame for AdCom to look this over. But similar to the well regulations, because these have already gone through town council, our most optimal timing, if you will, because we as a board could decide that we don't move forward with them. But the easiest thing we could do would be to strike certain sections. If we wanted to add anything, it would need to go through town council again and restart the public hearing process. Is that correct, Chris?
So let me just kind of back up a little bit on the statutory provision.
Sure.
I'd rather not answer that question because I think
Okay.
we're getting into deliberations, and this is not an item. on the-
Okay. All right.
So if
Fair
any of
enough.
you want to reach out to me and talk to me afterwards,
Sure.
day on that, I'm happy to talk to them individually.
Then okay, that's fine. Then yeah, you know what? Don't worry about my question then. I guess so. Susan Murray. I guess I'll direct this to you. So maybe we start. Do you want to start with let's pick a date and time first, and then decide after if we want those on the agenda for the public hearing for the tobacco regs on the agenda, or would you rather decide if we want tobacco regs on the agenda first and then pick the date?
Uh,
I would
I
just
mean-
caution.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So.
What am I doing?
Yep. So no, just the chair sets. Customarily the chair sets agendas.
Okay.
And I just want to just kind of keep things, as bulletproof as we can.
Yes. Okay.
I would caution on answering that because I would, it could be argued that that's a deliberation.
Got it. Okay. So right now, the only thing we can do is pick the date and time for the next meeting. Right.
Correct.
Okay.
If it was selected to be in person, and then the chair so chose, then, to put the hearing on that meeting. So, but the chair does select the items for the agenda.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. All right. Yes, let us comply with open meeting law for sure. Thanks everyone for bearing with us. So then, Susan Murray, looking at the week of January 11th to the 17th, I mean, do you want to try for exactly 4 weeks from today, a Wednesday, January 14th? Does that potentially work for you? Do you like this time
works.
slot? Yeah.
It would be helpful if it could just be a little later, maybe like 5 o'clock.
Okay, 5 o'clock, and then Chris, would 5 o'clock work for you folks?
We are here at your pleasure, so yes.
Susan Murray, are you okay with holding it in person in case the need arises for anything?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, so then we'll do an in-person meeting on Wednesday, January 14th at 5 o'clock p.m. Chris, you were not suggesting. And it's probably we're only picking January right now, especially because we don't know what's going on with the third member. Correct?
We could
Just January.
Yeah, we could set a 4-week meeting for February for routine, and then anything out of the ordinary we can address in between. So I think it does work well for staff and the public if we do have some degree of scheduling ahead of the January meeting. It's nice at least if we have 2 or 3 meetings scheduled.
Okay, sure. I'm looking at a calendar, so 4 weeks after that January 14th meeting would be Wednesday, February 11th. Susan Murray, again, would a Wednesday work for you? Could that Wednesday
fine.
work? Yeah. Do you like the 5 o'clock slot better?
Yeah.
We don't have to decide if that one yet is in person or remote, correct, Chris?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll just hold the spot for now. So then for February, at a 5 o'clock Board of Health meeting on Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. Okay. Okay. Great. All right. And then there's nothing else that needs to be, that we're just picking the dates and times. So we did that, right, Chris?
Yes, and then I guess the only other thing I'll kind of throw a curveball as I'm kind of thinking about things more holistically is, the potential for new board members. So if we set, we could end up, running into conflict and then having to, so maybe just kind of sticking with this tentative schedule right now.
Sure.
And then see what plays out, with this period where we're looking to fill a seat.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay. So, screens. Okay. All right. So now we're moving on to section 3, old business, and it looks like item A is not applicable. So then I'm going to move on to section 4, which is any item not known 48 hours in advance. Chris, do you have anything for this?
None.
Okay. I don't think I have anything either. Susan Marie, do you have anything for this?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, that seems to be the end of the agenda. So, all right. This is Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. It is 5:51 p.m. I move to adjourn the Dartmouth Board of Health meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Now we'll vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right. The motion passes. We are adjourned. Happy holidays, everyone.